Yo, what is going on? This is Philip Jean-Marie, aka Max Cooper. I'm actually here at the Power Morphicon, and I wanted to show you my wonderful helmet. I also wanted to shout out everyone who watched Power Rangers Wild Force, and even the old fans and the new fans. Also want to let you guys know, shout out to Tiger Tales. It's an audio storytelling channel on YouTube. Make sure to go ahead and like and subscribe. And also wanted to let you know, if you're going through some issues in life, remember 3 words: never give up. All right. So I hope everyone is doing well. Love you a lot. Peace.
Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales Lost Stories, a place you'll find stories and fan fictions in the first person point of view, written and read to you guys by your host, me, Tiger. And for the first time ever on this channel, we're doing a storyline in Marvel Universe 19. Marvel Universe 19 is a YouTube channel written and read to you guys, dedicated to Marvel by Cosplay Dude 637, myself, Tiger, A Crown, and Mark the Red Cornish Ranger. These storylines all take place in Universe 19. Universe 19 also hosts Power Rangers and Kamen Rider storylines, which you can go check that out on Power Rangers Universe 19. And a Mega Man storyline, which check out Tiger Tales Game Over for that one. Marvel Universe 19 expands with this brand new storyline. Cosplay Dude 637's brand new Marvel Universe 19 storyline is Marvel Rising, which brings back all the Marvel Rising team members together once again to stop a new issue. The new issue being the Raft prisoners escaped. Well, who are the escapees of the Raft? Who exactly are these people, and why were they in prison? Why are they doing what they're doing now? And what exactly are they doing with their newfound freedom? Well, let's find out, shall we? Welcome to the Escapees of the Raft. This specific storyline is explaining each and every bad guy that the Marvel Rising team will encounter when it comes to the Raft escapees. So let's dive in with the first one. The Escapees of the Raft. Chapter 1. Death Zone. My name is not important. I was nicknamed Death Zone. People called me Diz for short. I was a mutant with the ability to make those around me go completely deaf, with a noise that I can make harmonically. I was a prisoner in the Raft. I was 20 when I was arrested. I'm 29 now. I was arrested for using my powers to rob 6 major banks across America, when finally I was caught by Captain America himself, and I was brought here. I spent the last 9 years with a power dampening collar on, and I became a regular cleaner. Spent my days mopping the floors. One day I was mopping away on the 2nd floor when there was a massive explosion. The entire raft shook. I looked up, and there on the west side of the building, the wall had a hole big enough to cover 6 levels. It was big. Then, somehow, the power dampening collar is all deactivated. I dropped my mop, and I took off the collar. I took a deep breath in as I could feel my body becoming itself once again for the first time in 9 years. Some guards ran past me, gun in hand. They did not notice me, they just barged past me, like they had another bigger problem to deal with, bigger fish to fry in the prison. I ran up a set of stairs and down a corridor, and then I found the hole. It was in sight. All I needed to do was to get out of it, and I was free. I jumped off the ledge and landed on the 4th floor. I ran towards the hole in the wall, when suddenly several guards stopped me, pointing their taser blasters at me. "Halt right there!" one guard barked. I opened my mouth and I released my deafening harmonic sound. All of the guards twinged and shook their heads. Some of them dropped their guns in confusion, and I stood there unsure of my next move, when suddenly several forks flew past me and hit the ground right in their necks. In the light, small thin gap between their helmet and body armor, they clenched the forks and dropped to the floor, gasping for air. I turned to see another prisoner stood there clenching several forks, and I recognized him from my ward, which was Ward D. Lower level mutants to abnormal humans with high set of skills that lived on that ward. "They call you Diz, right? Death Zone or something like that?" he asked me. "Yeah. Got a name?" I asked him. "David," he told me. Thanks for that, David, I told him awkwardly. I think we could help each other out, David suggested. I thought about it. He was good at hitting anything head on, like a perfect marksman, and with my power of deafening the guards, we could definitely make a good tag team, even if it meant temporarily teaming up till we got out of the prison. Okay, Hawkeye Jr., let's go, I told him. He shook his head at me, and then we both started jogging towards the massive hole in the wall. We saw two prisoners fighting each other. We both laughed and shook our heads. We continued running. Some more guards stood in our way. They started firing their static blasts. We both dived to the ground and the sonic blast flew overhead. I'd laid there and unleashed my deafening harmonic note. The guards once again shook their heads and stood there stunned. Some of them started tapping the sides of their helmets, seeing if that would help them. David pulled himself to one knee and threw 3 forks. The 3 forks bounced off the ground and flew up, hitting the guards in the groins, and all 3 guards dropped to the ground, calling out in pain, each one dropping to the floor with a hard thud. I started harmonizing and we both got up and bolted past the crippled guards. We finally got to the massive hole in the wall. We looked at each other and jumped. We landed in the water. Luckily, it was a calm night. The water was calm as well. We swam ashore. We climbed up onto the pier, and David stretched his arm out. I turned to him and offered my hand and pulled him up. Thanks for the assist, Hawkeye Jr., I said. Please stop calling me that. And no worries. Same to you, David chuckled. We shook hands, and then he turned around and walked away. I watched him walk. A small part of me wanted to ask him to continue our little tag team. We made a pretty good duo, but if the 9 years in prison taught me anything, it's to never trust people. 14 hours after the prison outbreak, I'd made my way back to my house. It had been abandoned and closed off for renovation, but the renovation got announced several months ago. Knowing the people high up, this building would have been left here for several more years. I had left something in the floorboards. I punched the glass in the door and reached in to unlock it. I opened the door and walked in. I walked upstairs and walked into my old room, pulled up the floorboard and pulled out a duffel bag, then a briefcase and placed them both down. I unzipped the bag and found some clothes and a passport. Then I opened the briefcase and I chuckled to myself. 9 years ago, I had stolen over $17 million, all thanks to my mutant powers. I had kept $1 million in a briefcase when I was sent to the Raft. The jury and judge were baffled on why the police could not find the missing million. Only 16 million was accounted for. Guess another 4 are removing the floorboards. Lucky me. I zipped the bag back up and closed the briefcase, and I needed to keep moving. I knew there was only a shorter period of time. There was a new Avengers team now. The X-Men had expanded, and that was only the half of it. I was not going to get caught by some costume freak once again. I stormed out of the house. I found a car which seemed to be left alone for a couple of days. I managed to break in and hotwire the vehicle. I then drove and I kept on driving.
Hey, Kirito! Did you hear about that new podcast?
What new podcast, Asu?
It's called the Tiger Nexus Podcast, run by Tiger.
Hold on. I know that name. He's the guy behind Tiger Tales on YouTube, right?
Yep, that's right. And now he's launched his own podcast where he interviews content creators and nerds of all kinds.
No way, that sounds so cool. What's the name of the podcast again?
The Tiger Nexus Podcast. You can find it on all major podcast platforms.
Hold up, he's had Cosplay Dude 637 on there? That's amazing!
I know, right? He's also interviewed A-Crown, Mark the Red Corners Ranger, and many others.
I am totally subscribing to the Tiger Nexus podcast. I don't want to miss anything.
Tune into the Tiger Nexus Podcast by Tiger for fascinating interviews with your favorite content creators and nerds. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out.
A day went by, and I was on a cruise ship. A massive boat sailed gently across the sea. I kept the briefcase close to me. A few days sailing across the ocean. If I could just get to the other end of this cruise ride, and I would be scot-free. I grew up in the foster system. My mutant power kicked in when my foster mother heated up the metal ladle and struck me across the back with it, over and over, in the act of a consequence of a petty house crime that I did not even commit. I screamed. My foster mother dropped her ladle, and in panic, as all the other foster kids followed, they all dropped to the ground in hysterical pain as they all lost the ability to hear, and anything that would make a noise seemed noiseless, due to my first outburst of my power, taking the form of my painful scream. Then I was removed and my 16-year-old self had to survive. I met someone who trained me in robbing banks. They kept me warm, fed, and gave me a house in exchange to use my mutant abilities. I grew up hard, cold, and selfish, and I was completely fine with that. I walked through one of the corridors in a cruise when suddenly one of the security guards stopped me. "Excuse me, sir, the captain needs to see you," the guard said. My heart sank into my stomach. I clenched my fists as I followed the guard. We climbed the stairs into the control deck, and I saw the captain standing tall and confident. He spun around on his heel and faced me, his expression plain and cold. "Hello, Death Zone," the captain said in a stern tone. I let out a sigh and rolled my eyes. "You think you could travel halfway across the ocean without being recognized?" the captain asked me. I noticed he had a taser strapped to his belt, and the two guards in the room had batons and tasers too. I took a deep breath and released my harmonic sound. The captain and two guards dropped to the floor, covering their ears as they went deaf. I stopped, and the three men were recovering from the effects. I moved as quick as I could. I shoved the captain to the ground, grabbed his taser, and hit the captain with the taser. His body shook, and he passed out. I stood up and turned around and saw the two guards trying to stand. I ran up to them and shot them with the taser as well, both guards dropping to the floor, unconscious. I walked up to the control panel and pressed the comms. "Attention passengers of the Wife's Gambit. This is your new captain. This is my boat now, and if you try to do anything stupid, I have 3 unconscious bastards here who are alive, but that can quickly change," I barked. Then I unleashed my harmonic sound into the microphone, releasing it throughout the whole ship, the speakers across the whole cruise affecting everybody, making everyone go deaf. I could hear them crying out, the sounds of the elderly and children all in panic, and the people in the ship also in a fear as I silenced myself. Then I took a sigh of relief. There is more where that came from. Play nice, and when we get to our destination, I shall leave, and no one has to get hurt, I called out into the comms. Then I let go of the speaker button. I took a few steps back, contemplating my next decision, and I made in the last 2 minutes. After 10 minutes, I looked out the window, and I could see a rather large Quinjet-looking ship in the sky floating there, and I knew I was in trouble. If you wish to see the countermeasure of what happens with Death Zone, make sure you check out and look forward to Marvel Rising Chapter 2. Make sure you check out Marvel Universe 19 for more Marvel-related storylines. Some of them are written by myself. I've got an Avengers storyline on there. And there's even more storylines like the X-Men, Marvel Rising, and New Mutants. So make sure you go check it out. And of course, on with our outro. Thank you very much for listening to this story. There are of course plenty more where that came from, on this specific channel and on other Tiger channels as well. There are plenty more Tiger Tales channels for you guys to find and explore, with all sorts of storylines, fan fictions to dive into. A huge shout out to the following: Cosplay Dude 637, my Parabatai, and Mark the Red Cornish Ranger. The three of us are the Three Ranger Bros. Then of course we have our partners, A Crown, and Cosplay Sun 637, also known as Xander. Of course, a huge shout out to the Zero to Hero podcast, and of course, If You Give a Dad a podcast. If you want to find out more about these people, make sure you check out our website, the3rangerbrosstudios.com. That being said, make sure you check out the Tiger Nexus podcast, my own podcast where I interview people, content creators and geeks alike. Sometimes those two things intertwine. Now of course, a list of the other Tiger Tales channels can be found on the website, and also some of the channels are down below in the description. Make sure you go give them a listen to, because there's more where that came from. Storytime with Cosplay Dude 67 also returns on a lot of the Tiger Tales channels, including the original Tiger Tales. So make sure you check out his stories as well. I have plenty more content where that came from. I do gaming, reactions, I geek out about stuff, I show off my collectibles, my artwork, and a lot more. Again, some of these links will be in the description down below. If not, you can go check out the website, or check out the TikTok at TigerTiger777, where I talk about a lot about my other content. Of course, that being said, I love you all. Make sure you hit that like button, you subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss more stories coming to you from myself and the partners of the channel. We're of passion, everybody, and I shall see you guys real soon.
That before we can...
Don't touch my Pringles.
Bye!